that. And so I think seeing kind of what the community was interested in kind of drove what I was doing. There was other buffs that I did that were based off of polls, or there were some that just came to me. There's a question here from Deacon. How long and how much planning do you put into each buff? Sometimes it can be a week. I just posted one earlier this week for Captain America World War II. And
it's found inside of Teresa Hallback's vehicle.
What was that?
Marcus, you gotta mute, my buddy.
Yeah, come on, Marcus.
Ruining the stream, man. What are you doing?
So there was an idea that I posted for Captain America World War II.
All right, you can just mute. I'm gonna have to mute Marcus. Will someone let Marcus know?
Come on, Marcus. I tell you what. No, the Captain America World War II, I was laughing with Gabe on this one. I'd seen the buff ideas that had come out from a few members of the society for Captain America World War II, and I was like, hey, look, I'm the Captain America guy. Let me try something. And so within maybe an hour and a half, I'd come up with the idea, put together the graphic, and posted it on Twitter. So it can vary quite a bit. To Deacon's question in the chat, my Spiral and Mystique ones are still in their planning stages because they're very complex characters. I think for both of those.
I bet.
Yeah, especially Mystique. And I have some good ideas for Mystique and gotten some feedback from Kabam VK on that one. And my Spiral idea, that was my first interaction with Kabam John, was he actually took my rough notes of what I was thinking of for Spiral and gave me balanced designer feedback on it of what they would do if somebody was bringing that idea to the team. And hey, we want to go ahead and this is a good idea. Let's look at where this may be too OP or too under OP, or let's focus the kit a little bit more. And so, John gave some really good feedback on that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. And Gabe has talked about that. I think they've tried animations for Spiral in contest. I know I see Corey Guns tweet at Kabam Gabe like, "Yo, when's Spiral coming? When's she coming, dude?" And he's talked about like, hey, her animations are, she's got 6 arms. They're going everywhere. So you got to animate that. So they have issues with that. And they talked about Mojo, how he was hard to animate back in the day. So I think Spiral is definitely. I think she's on your list of Tease champions, if I'm correct. Or not Tease champions, but your gym grid.
Yeah, the gym grid, the MCOC 15, which is interesting. The MCOC 15, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, she's on the gym grid, and Gabe has come back and said, doing the design work for having 6 arms plus obviously 2 legs, and she flies, and everything that would be involved with her kit. That's a lot of technical planning for that one. But then when you release characters such as Dr. Octopus and you release characters such as Mojo, which have multiple appendages, which I'm not a designer, I'm not a technical person by any means to be able to look at it and go, okay, the rigging for a Mojo style character or the rigging for a Dr. Octopus character is different than the rigging that would be for someone like Spiral. I can't speak to that, but we have seen them do multiple things. I mean, if you remember back early in the contest, one of the hardest things for them was Rocket because of how small he was and how the hitboxes would work for that. And they overcame that with advances in their own technology. So I think eventually will Spiral join? Yeah. I don't see any reason why. You've got Mojo, you've got Longshot. I don't see any reason why you're not going to eventually get a Spiral and a Shatterstar into the game. They just coincide so well.
Yeah, we was it what was another Marvel game just had Shatterstar and Mojo added to the game. So we've had these similar events in other Marvel games. Of course, we're going to see them with the contest, especially with Mojo and the Mojoverse, Mojo World. Like, of course, it's going to come to the game.
Yeah, I think it would, and I think it's, as they've said, one of the things that that's big for them is, early in the game, they didn't have the technology that they have now, and they released a lot of characters, and they really couldn't do with those early characters what they can do with characters now, whether it's from abilities or from animations, which is why you saw a lot of duplicate animations. So I think as the technology improves and the resources are available, you're going to see more interesting characters. As Gabe said back on Deacon and the rest of the UMCOC podcast, when actual MCOC Gabe was on there, one of the things they do want to do is go back and remove a lot of those duplicate animations that you see, whether it's the Cyclops and the Daredevils and, multiple characters doing the same heavy attacks. If you've noticed now with all the new characters that are coming out, they all have individual animations. There are no repeat animations for any characters that are coming out.
Yeah, no, I 100% get what you're saying. I was you were talking about how they've increased. I've talked about it before, and I think even Frojo's talked about it. How you look at Ghost Rider and his fire animations, and then you look at the Human Torch, and you look at Namor. These were new animations they never did before, and they've talked about how I think even what was it? It was Dorky Diggity Dave. He talked about how like Mystique and Sandman and Quicksilver, they can't really they don't fit well in the game right now because it's hard for the engine to handle their animations, and we know that the engine in the game does get updated. So even though those characters they can't make them like they couldn't make them a year ago, 2 years ago, and now they're only increasing the animations. I mean, you look at all the recent new characters, and they're so much bright, and especially Jubilee, not Mojo, Psycho Man, who obviously caused some issues. So it's going to be interesting how Kabam move on.
So what's interesting about that is I think Kabam does a lot of animation tuning in the background that we don't necessarily see in the monthly release note. So do you remember the Void controversy when Void now all of a sudden had the white sparkles on his chest that he didn't have when it first came out? That was a big thing. People were up in arms about the fact that Void now had this like white sparkly star on the middle of his chest. But in addition, we went from 1 month to another, and all of a sudden Dormammu's flame effects were like 100% better. It was so interesting that there was nothing in the patch notes talking about updated animations, but like you're talking about, in the back end, they're updating their software, they're updating their technology. Technology moves so quickly now that they were able to update just the animations and the look of the characters, even without maybe buffing the abilities of the character, but at least the look of the characters.
Huh. Yeah, I never noticed that with Dormammu. That's pretty interesting.
Oh, I posted that into my into my alliance. I posted that and I was like, "Have you guys noticed Dormammu's animations? His flame effects are so much cleaner and more fluid."
Huh. Yeah, I don't use Dormammu. He's kind of outdated for my team.
Yeah, I think I noticed it. I think I was fighting him in an EQ, and I was like, "Wow, he looks better."
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, Hood's getting a buff, which obviously we have some controversy about. I do want to ask you, because you are the buff man. So, how does it feel that they're taking these characters and they're buffing them, but they're also taking away of abilities that they had previously? Instead of just adding on to them, they take away some abilities. So obviously with Hood, he got Fate Steel taken away. I think Yellow Jacket had a little bit of utility taken away, not too much, but not as bad as Hood. Like Hood, people loved Hood, or some people did. I'm not sure everyone did, but some people loved Hood, and now he seems like his damage output's amazing, but he's kind of missing something that everyone loves.
A good question. So if you listen to, or if you talk to anybody that's in my alliance, Professor Puck's in here, K Skills is in here. I'm always on the the side for the most part of the, okay, let's look at this from a positive standpoint. One of the things that I think about, and we think about the meta of the game and how the meta has changed, year over year, and just, the focus, the nodes, the type of content that we are facing, whether it's Cavalier or it's in-game content, things change. And so while we may look at the Hood buff, nerf, whatever, as being a good or bad thing, depending on your familiarity with the character, we don't know if they are specifically planning for something that may be coming, that now all of a sudden Hood may be great. Yeah. I can tell you I was frustrated. And that, that previous comment is me trying to look at this as like, okay, maybe they know what they're doing and they're planning for something. And now Hood, 3 months from now, there's going to be videos popping up on YouTube all the time of people saying, hey, Hood is amazing for this content, and he wouldn't have been before. I can't really picture what that might be, but as somebody who ranked Hood to rank 4 the day before they announced the buff, I'm a little salty about it, because I could have taken up Dragon Man and I would have been happier, but seeing everything from Cat Murdoch and everything that she showcases on Twitter, I went with the Hood because of his Fate Seal, because of certain mechanics that he has that no other champion has. I say has because as of Monday he won't have them anymore. So what's going to happen? Is the buff going to end up translating to be something amazing later on? Who knows? But right now, in the face value of it, and this is where I wish we'd have a little bit more transparency from Kabam of, hey, we want champion buffs. If you're going to do a value update or you're going to do a moderate update, that's great. But why take away key components of a champion's kit, as opposed to, I've never heard anybody say anything about Hood other than he has low damage output. So then why would you change his entire kit just to give him damage output? Nobody ever complained about his kit. He had an amazing, unique kit. So I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely feel what you're saying. And I was thinking, if they're going to take away this opponent, they're either going to add it back to him or give it to another character that's not in the game. And maybe that's why they're being silent. Like, hey, we're going to take away this from Hood, but we're going to give you all this damage, and then we're going to put that utility in someone else. But
if they put that into a new character, think about it this way.
You've already invested.
If they put it into an existing character that they're going to buff, that people may already have, that's great. If they put it into a new character that people don't have, and say, hey, we know how much you wanted Fate Seal and the hexes and all this the ability accuracy reduction that Hood had, we're gonna put it into, pick your Mystic character that's not in the game, Mordred. We'll just say Mordred, right? So we pick Mordred. He's going to have everything that the Hood had, but he's a new character. So now you have to spend to get him. You have to wait to get him. Then you have to rank him up again, where you may have already had Hood that was already ranked up. So I don't think that is a satisfying answer.
Yeah, for sure, man.
It's like, hey, we know how much you like this. Here's this new character come. Once you spend your units, spend your hard-earned cash, try to get the character, and then spend all the resources to rank him up when you already had Hood ranked up and we took that ability away from him. So I'm hoping with all of the CCP folks that are providing their feedback to Kabam, that Kabam makes a change again for Hood and brings him back.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that we need rank down tickets. What I would like to see is more, don't rank him down, just fix what didn't need to be fixed. And no, Moose, nothing's ever easy with Kabam. Come on.
Yeah, CCP is not quiet. Yeah, I definitely, I definitely think they're gonna do something with them for sure. I'm excited to see.
And I talked with Kat privately on this one. I'm not CCP, so I can't see anything that's going on with that. But I talked with Kat privately about this one, and one of the things we have to remember is all of this information dropped publicly Friday afternoon. As with most of us, we don't work on the weekends. So we're probably not going to hear any responses back over the weekend.
Right.
So ace goes as long as they're fried or mashed. Yeah, so I don't think that we're going to have a fix in place by Monday. I just don't see it. There's changes and development work that might have to happen. If they are going to do anything, it's going to take a little bit of time. And I would say, once people actually get their hands on the hood, they'll do some testing. There'll be videos, and we'll see if everything on paper translates better when it's actually in-game footage. But just removing such a big aspect of a character's kit just doesn't make sense to me. It's a conversation that we had with Wade Thrillson on Twitter. It's like if they removed Taskmaster, he is to Taskmaster what Cat is to Hood. And so if they removed his ability to reduce debuffs every time they're placed on him, and they removed his ability accuracy reduction, but they gave him more damage, would he be happy with that? And he agreed, no, on paper, he would not be happy with that. So I think there's a lot of people. He may not be the most widely used Mystic character out there, but there's definitely a following for the Hood. And I think those that have found his utility extremely useful have not been happy with not the proposed changes, the actual changes that are coming to the Hood, because it does change his uniqueness.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I wasn't someone who'd ever used him before, and so I'm excited for his buff, but I've obviously never used that utility before, so I'm not missing anything because I never used it to begin with. But like you said, so many people have used that ability, and for him to not have it, I have a question for you. If they just leave Hood how he is, who do you think should get that ability? Just think of a character who you think should have a part of that utility. Maybe they want to create a new version to do what Hood did, but kind of differently, kind of do the same thing that Hood does, but even better.
So you're talking about a new character?
No, probably like a buff, because we do have a lot of Mystics that are kind of
buff. Okay.
I'm just curious.
I mean, honestly, if we were really thinking about a character that's Doctor Strange should really have a Fate Seal capabilities. His kit pre 12.0 was amazing just from his different stances that he has. His counterspell is really good. You can obviously create additional damage if you pair him with Captain America Infinity War and Symbiote Supreme, and I think Mephisto as well too. So there's different ways you can ramp him up, but now all of a sudden you're filling all the spots. But if they were to take that away and they were added to an existing character, I could absolutely see Doctor Strange getting some sort of Fate Seal capability, and he should absolutely have an ability accuracy reduction.
Dude, yeah, man. That's definitely some cool stuff. I feel like Doctor Strange should be, honestly, the most bonkers Mystic in the game, just because, just how much he can do. He's got so many different spells and whatnot, and Fate Still should definitely be one of them. And I see you guys are bringing up WandaVision as well. We do have a Scarlet Witch sigil, or sigil is what the file that was leaked was saying, of Scarlet Witch sigil, who's not playable in the game, who obviously hasn't ever been released since WandaVision came out, which is kind of weird. We have this character, and she's not the first character to not be released, but she's one of the newest characters to not be released in years. And maybe this ability is going to her. I mean, it's kind of interesting why we don't have this character, and next week is the finale, so it's very, very interesting.
Well, and I wanna be very careful for people that haven't seen it. I'm caught up, and I have my theories on who that empty spot may be in the State of the Battle Realm map, and had some conversations with some society folks, and I know Slayer doesn't agree with me, and people think that other people may be there. But the new Scarlet Witch's abilities are already set in game. You could see them when you played her, and she does not have Hood's ability. Are there additional characters that could come into the game that could maybe have it? I'm seeing, people in here saying Agatha. There's so many great mystics that are out there that you could really look at. Ancient One would have I think if the Ancient One ever joined the game, he or she, depending on which version they bring into the game, would be a prime candidate for having a Fate Seal type ability.
Yeah, I guess Mordo as well too. I mean, if he's going to increase his power and go around killing other Mystic users, maybe he would. Honestly, he is sealing their fate by murdering them.
Yeah, and he has his own. I think people underestimate Mordo's SP2 as opposed to Dr. Voodoo's SP1. Whereas Dr. Voodoo's SP1 relies that the opponent has to be vulnerable to poison, whereas Mordo's SP2 doesn't. So if you throw that and they've got buffs on them, then they start taking direct damage off of that. But Mordo's too OP, nerf him. Nice. Eggs Benedict. I like reading some of these comments. And I'm gonna throw this one out there because I would like to talk about this one later. One of the guys from my alliance talked about alliances feeling burnt out, so I definitely want to touch on that.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. You can talk about it now if you want. Just all good.
Yeah, I see this quite a bit, and so it's an ebb and flow, right? And I've even had times where sometimes I kind of feel burnt out. I'm a leader of an alliance. I've been in the same alliance since a month after I started the game. Burnt out. It was actually my brother's alliance. When he retired from the game, I took over the alliance, and we go through it. We see it all the time. We want people to understand that it's a game. It's 100% a game. Your real life matters more than anything. But at the same time, if you're going to be part of an alliance has required rules or required metrics that you need to meet, whether it's joining AQ at least twice a series, or joining AW, whatever it may be. That's fine. You kind of agree to that when you join an alliance. But even the most long-term or the most avid players, they'll go through a burnout. And I think a lot of that becomes AQ runs for 5 days, it's off for 3 days, it's on for 5 days, it's on, it's this repetitive thing to almost, it's like, are we really starting AQ again? Did we just end that yesterday? And you realize, okay, it's been 3 days. It feels like you're always in AQ or you're always in AW. And I know there are alliances that look at it and go, okay, well, we're not going to run AW. We're going to be an AQ focused alliance, or we're not going to do AQ. We're going to be an AW focused alliance. And then there are some that, if you're in this alliance, you will run AQ every single day. You're assigned to a BG. You're assigned to a path. That's your path. You have no excuse. You have to join that. Same thing with AW. And so it really can lead to this kind of burnout of playing the same modes repetitively over and over and over. And I get it. AQ has some of the best rewards if you want to advance your roster. AWs, you start getting into some of the higher tiers. You get lots of great shards and lots of great benefits from it. But I think the frequency of it can quickly lead to long-term players being burnt out. And so then they run into this dilemma, right? Of I can join every time, and every single time that I join, I'm going to get more and more burnt out, more and more frustrated with the game because I feel like I'm logging in because I have to, not because I want to. I think if they were able to find a way to maybe decrease the amount or the recurrence of AQ and AW, but increase the rewards, I think that would lead to more individual satisfaction so that you don't have people that if you follow Frontline MCOC on Twitter, he posted something recently for this month, and he's like, here's the 6 times over the next month that you'll have full roster availability. 6 times. That's it. So I think if you can decrease the recurrence of AW and AQ, increase the rewards, have more changes, not just to the nodes, but to the maps and to the opponents that you're fighting in AQ, I think you can decrease the burnout that maybe people feel. I think other things they need to look at, I know that they are from the dev maps, is different AQ modes. Office Gabe. If we can look at, different AQ modes or, different gameplays that they have. And I know there's been a lot of people on Twitter, myself included, that have put together different ideas for what AQ modes could be that maybe could change it up so people aren't getting burnt out. I don't want to be president. Too many skeletons. But I just think that it's the same thing over and over and over when it comes to AQ and AW. So think about your own individual progression. Think about an EQ. At the beginning of the month, if you're like me, you're excited. It's a new EQ. You want to jump in there. You want to go through and tackle the content. Now, as we're coming towards the end of the month, you're like, I've got to go in and complete this content. I'm tired of it by now. So I think if we can find a way to reduce the redundancy of a lot of the alliance modes, make them a little bit more exciting, I think that would decrease the burnout that a lot of people feel.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. Yeah, AQ and AW does let's burnout. Char, who's in my chat, he was saying maybe just lower the people in the alliances, but even then, that's because it is hard to get 30 people to do everything to do that. But even then, it's still boring. You're still not doing anything. You're doing the same old thing. And so adding, I was thinking, they could always, you have AQ, you're fighting, you're doing the same thing over and over again. But there's a way for you to do to add a story mode, add certain new things, have some awesome entertaining content right there that they're just super missing out on.
Yeah, I see Gabe in there, and he's talking about Alliance Incursions, and I had actually come up with a game mode for Alliance, and it was Alliance. The name is escaping me now. Maybe somebody will remember this, but it was essentially an Incursion style Alliance mode that took the idea of bases, allowed you as an Alliance to place and create your own kind of Incursions map that had 10 rooms. And then you could have, 2 or 3 people that attack this base or whatever. Campaigns. It was Alliance Campaigns was the name. And so it literally was an Incursions for an Alliance. You could only do 1 per day. You could do it with, multiple people on your Alliance, and you were raiding another team. And Forge was created as an NPC player.
That's cool.
Yeah, and he would create different gear to help you go through everything. So, yes, thank you, Gabe. it's that idea of different alliance-based events, and maybe you decrease the redundancy or the repetitiveness of AW and AQ, but you have more varied content for people to play. Because I think that's what everybody wants, right? So, here it is, the end of the month. I think I've got one more chapter in Cavalier. I've completed Uncollected. I've got all the other chapters at least completed, but I haven't explored them. But now I'm going through Variant because to me, Variant is the better reward structure. And I'm just kind of bored with fighting the same champs over and over in 4 different levels in EQ. So, anyways, yeah, I think if they start looking at things like raids, which is something that they were talking about, and some of these other alliance events, it's great to hear what they're thinking. But in the meantime, as we wait for them to actually roll them out, whether it's strikers or raids or all of us fighting Galactus as the entire summoner base, whatever it may be, right? Where we kind of get bored with the same repetitive motions every single time. So my alliance, we tried to curb this a long time ago. We do 2 BGs for both AQ and AW, but we've got 30 members. So AQ is map 5. We have assigned people there. For BG2, the other 20 members can rotate in and out of there, just so that they can take time off whenever they want. But the AQ map 5 people have committed to running that one every single time. When it comes to AW, we have 15 people assigned to each BG, and I just asked they get a minimum of 6 people in, or 6 wars in per season. We always take at least 1 week off in the off season. So we try to combat that burnt out feeling that people get, but it still happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Xander, but that would be really cool. I'd like an Avengers in-game final battle event. I think the closest thing that we got was and this brings up something else I want to talk about, was the Infinity Gauntlet Thanos that we had to fight.
I remember him.
Okay, so what I think that Marvel Champions really needs to do moving forward, I love this idea of, you've got your quests. I don't mind if there's multiple paths, but that final boss should be a one-time fight, no one else, just like that Infinity Gauntlet Thanos. I love that idea that, you maybe spent, 6 energy to get to him. You fought him. If you lost, if you didn't want to revive, you could get out and come back again. You had to beat him to get the completion, the exploration rewards, but having a boss fight for the EQ, I thought was an amazing thing. And I was really hoping that that's something that we would see moving forward, that they would do every single month. But they didn't. That's the only time that we've had a one quest, one path, single encounter boss fight in the entire history of the game that I can remember. And I remember I loved it, and I wish that they would do more of that.
And that's what 2 or 3 years ago. So it's kind of forgotten now, and no one really brings that event up. And like you said, man, that's so awesome. I would love to see it return as well.
Yeah. So okay, who was this? Mr. King. I gotta address this one because Slayer and I have both had different ideas on this one, and Slayer wants to jump in chat and explain his idea. He absolutely can, but I'll explain kind of my idea of a Galactus battle fight. So I think this was a non-sleep induced, just random idea that popped into my head of how would you battle Galactus, and I looked at it as kind of a like a boss rush type of thing. And so every single fight that you fight, you're fighting one of his heralds, or all of the heralds. So Silver Surfer, Tarak, Airwalker, Cosmic Ghost Rider, whoever the next herald is that's going to come into the game. So you've got, all these different heralds that you're having to fight. There's specific Galactus buffs that they have been given But the background is not Surtur. It's not, Doctor Strange's environment. It's not Wakanda. It's not Avengers headquarters. It's Galactus. Galactus is in the background. You're in space and you're fighting as heralds. And randomly throughout the fight, Galactus will blast at you with a blast or whatever from the background. And if you don't dex it or dodge it properly, you're dead. You're done. You're gone. You're out. But, I thought it would be, this. So you think about it, it's it's a December event. The final quest is 5 champions, and it's all of his heralds. And every single time, Galactus is his background. And so you actually are fighting not only the herald with a Galactus buff, but also you're fighting the background. And I thought it would be a cool way to bring Galactus. Otherwise, oh gosh, yes. Airwalker's SP3 is the best thing in the game to me.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. But I thought this idea of, what are you going to do? Are you going to shrink Galactus down? No. So if you don't shrink him down, then what are you going to do? You're going to punch his face the entire time, and he's just, his face is going to be on one side of the screen. I just don't think, based off of the way that they have set up the mechanics of the game, that Galactus could be a traditional character that you would fight. Now, maybe they're going to introduce something later on. But I really, really like the idea of now the background and the environment is Galactus interacting with you while you fight his heralds.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I can see that. We brought up Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and in that you fight his heralds, who are they look like the Silver Surfer. But they're basically whatever character you are, you're like bathed in that Silver Surfer thing. And then once you fight the heralds, you fight Galactus, and he's a big old head. Like you don't really fight that version. Like you don't fight a smaller version of him. You fight him as big as he is. And I think Contest can do something like that. And then like they can balance, like, oh, you're fighting with the ultimate nullifier. That's how you're going to defeat Galactus, or something like that. I don't think it'll be straight up. Whoever character you're playing can just go against this version of go against Galactus.
Yes. So I actually put something into the chat about that. I don't know why it still says that was my alliance, but this was something I shared on Twitter, and it was kind of that breakdown of what I just described of, how could you do a Galactus fight in the constraints of a Marvel Contest of Champions fighting game, right? So we'll have to see what they end up doing. I think we can look at the map and see that Galactus is coming, but how are they going to introduce him? Is it going to be an actual we fight him? Is it something that they're designing raids for that maybe there's a new play style that we just don't know about yet? But I think if we can look to the comics, beating Galactus has not always been the way to save the planet. I think there's been, other ways that comics have shown that, a planet is saved. And I think it can be as simple as something, if, you can beat my heralds, I'll leave the battle realm alone.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Reed Richards wants Galactus to set everyone free. He thinks that only Galactus can set everyone free from the battle realm. So it's going to be interesting how, like, we want. I think Galactus is gonna, if he eats battle realm, which kind of seems like the heart of the battle world is the heart of the battle realm. If anyone doesn't know that.
Yeah. Well, what I think needs to happen though is there needs to be an Easter egg that if you take Squirrel Girl into fight, then you automatically win and Galactus leaves.
I think that is so dumb. I hate
we're
that.
not told why. We're only told that, Squirrel Girl talked him out of it and he left. And if you know anything about the comics, you'll understand that one. So, yeah, and Marcus, that's kind of what I'm saying. I don't see us fighting Galactus physically, but I could see him influencing the fight. I could also see, like, I got this idea, I think, when I was fighting one of the Surtur ones, and you see Surtur's head just kind of popping up in the background. I'm like, God, can you imagine how bad it would be if all of a sudden he just, shot a blast at me while I'm fighting? So, I'm trying to throw a combo and all of a sudden his eyes light up and he shoots a blast at me and I've got a dex now and that's going to mess up the fight. And that kind of sparked the idea of, Galactus being in the background. He's watching the fight, but occasionally he tries to blast you or he tries to do something to you. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you're saying this idea. It didn't necessarily happen the same way, but in Mortal Kombat they have these modifiers where, like, I think it doesn't happen. I think it's like you can set these modifiers for like certain events in MKX and 11, and so you'll have like Shao Kahn in the background, and he of course has a hammer that he can like teleport at you. And so if he's in the back, he'll be in the background. He'll like throw his hammer at you, and it'll hit you if you don't dodge it. So I think contests can totally do that. I think we missed an opportunity as well. You were talking about how Galactus can also be in the background and influence. I think that's like a great idea, and we can even see that more. Like you said, Surtur. We do have a throne room. We have like that throne in the Galactorium, which is it's the throne that was once the Collector's. Now it's Karina's. But there's definitely these areas that we could see come to the contest, and obviously you just explain it like it's a unique fight with that buff. So I would love to see it.
So interesting that you bring up the Collector's throne room or whatever. This was something that I had not noticed, but I know a lot of other summoners did. And it wasn't until I was listening to the UMCOC podcast with Gabe on it that after the Collector was the fight in 5.2.6 and people beat him, the Collector is no longer in the background anymore. He used to be in the background, but once he was beat, he was removed from the background. So I'm curious if sometime in the future we may see Karina there or we may see somebody else. And speaking of backgrounds, I don't know if anybody saw this, but official Gabe did announce that there is she was on the motion comic. Awesome.
Yeah, I just had a picture of it.
Yeah. Gabe did announce that there is a new arena or background that's being developed, and it's a fan favorite one. So hopefully we'll see a new one soon. I would like to see the Surtur one go away.
What?
There's so many characters that I hate fighting in the Surtur background. If you're fighting Void, forget it. You're done. You have to guess where he is. It's horrible. But I'd love to see the Danger Room, or one of my absolute favorites that I think would be really cool would be the Waterfall fight arena from Black Panther.
Yeah, that's a good one. Here's a picture of it looks like Krakoa, if you know anything about the so that's something it seems weird that Frazera would tease, like show a picture of an eye of the 3D model and just not say anything about it. And that's why everyone loves the X-Men comics right now, and so a lot of people have the idea that Krakoa is coming. That's what I think it is, but of course, when you say fan favorite, like you said, the Wakandan waterfall is such a cool scene of Black Panther. I absolutely love that fight.
But would Krakoa as a background differ visually so significantly from, say, Sentinel Island?
I mean, it can. I was thinking as well as that Frazera was like showcasing these eyes leading up to the release of Marvel Realm of Champions, and so Krakoa could also be for Realm of Champions as well. And we know there have been leaks of certain mutant characters coming to Realm, so that's something as well.
Well, one thing that we always joke about in the society chat is Gabe loves to toy with us on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
and talking about Gabe. I mean, we've seen what looks like a Doctor Doom guillotine variant drawing that he's done. We've seen a Beta Ray Bill drawing that he's done. We've seen a drawing of Rampage that he did, but I think that was more based off Deacon and other MCOC Gabe's original tournament. But he drew a Giraffe Man one time and posted it. So, I think we all try to look into Yeah, we all try to look into, okay, is what he's posting just like, hey, I did a doodle, or hey, guess what? 6 months from now, Beta Ray Bill's going to be in the game. Who
So
knows?
I have something. So this is I've talked about this before on X Interviews. I have cataloged all of Kabam Gabe's tweets. Only El Gabarino and Turkey Chief have this list. I cataloged all his tweets and almost all the teases Kabam have ever made to a character not in the game. And so I've also cataloged who has been teased and who joined the game. So it's very interesting, like when you talk about if he's messing with us or he's actually giving us a tease, because it's not all cut in stone like what he means, because he does like tease a character. Like he says Mojo's not coming to the game, and then like a little bit after he says that, Mojo comes to the game. So it's just interesting, and I just thought that I'll release that pretty soon with El Gabriel. Got something cool planned with that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I love the fact that Gabe and Mike and Sassy and John and a few others from Kabam are very engaged with the community, especially on Twitter. A year ago, a little bit over a year ago, I posted. You mentioned the gym grid, and it was a list of 90 characters. I think it was. I can't remember exactly what, but it was a just a nice grid of characters that I personally wished would come to the game. And on the very same day, Gabe responded back. He's like, "Oh, interesting list. We have about 12 to 15 of those that are, in the works right now." Fast forward to March with the releases that are coming up in March. We've now hit 14 characters in that year. Now he mentioned we had, that many over the next 2 years, but we've already hit 14. So curious to see how many more of those may come up. Yep, there it is. That's the February one. Odin hasn't been checked off on that one. I can't remember if I put Mangog on that one or not. I can't remember. I don't see him on there, but
Don't think so.
Odin's definitely on there. I know Professor Puck really wants Puck to come into the game, but they don't do well with small characters. I will say, if I could, there's a lot of characters, and I always go back and forth. It depends on my day. Just looking at this, I think a character like a Gladiator or a Shadow King, I think they would be amazing adds to the game with new mechanics, especially looking at how they did Professor X. Being able to do Shadow Realm with Shadow King, or to have a confidence-based mechanic that Gladiator has. And I'm going to talk about the Gladiator in the game, but the Shi'ar Gladiator, I think that would be interesting. Blue Marvel would be another great one, and there's lots of talk that he's being teased in the WandaVision TV show, which I think would be really cool if they could bring him to the MCU. But,
Yeah. You talk about the gym grid, and you talk about Shadow King and Professor X, man. You know who you didn't put on the gym grid?
Who?
Legion.
Okay, and so there's a reason why I didn't put Legion into the gym grid. Not because I don't like Legion, but when I think about Legion and how you notice I put Mystique on there.
Right.
And Mystique is really, if anyone's seen my idea for Mystique, she doesn't copy people's abilities, but she can copy their physical appearance.
Yeah, their DNA.
Except for, special attacks, she reverts back during special attacks. But one of the things that I thought was kind of cool about the idea that I came up with Mystique was that she could, depending on, so think of it as a pre-fight ability, right? And before you start the game, you say, I'm going to pick Sentinel, I'm going to pick Captain America Infinity War, and I'm going to pick somebody else, right? Well, now when you go into the pre-flight screen for her to go into that fight, she now matches that champion's tags. So if you needed a villain, or if you needed a XL champion, or you needed a science champion to go through a certain path, you could do that. Now they had to be at either the same level or below for what your champion was, she also would provide the same synergies that character would. So she'd be kind of like an extra synergy spot.
Like Super
on
Scroll.
Kind of, yeah, like the Fantastic Four. So, I looked at it more of she's pretending to be this character so she can mimic their attributes, but she can't mimic their powers. So that's why her special attacks, she'd always revert back to herself for the special attacks. But I thought that was kind of an interesting way to look at different mechanics in the game and how Mystique could be used. Now, Legion, and Deacon, you said it perfectly in the chat here. This is a dude that has 100 different personalities, and each personality...
Oh, way more than that, man.
Oh, yeah, okay. So many different personalities. But, okay, let's think about the programming of having only 100 personalities, and each personality has its own power set. How do you bring that to the game?
So, like, I know, right? He's got thousands of personalities, thousands of different powers. Something that me and Turkey were thinking is, like, he has different comic lines where in the beginning he only had 3 powers, and then like 20 years later he had like 6 personalities escaped his mind and became tangible in the real world. So I think you'd have to limit his powers, because really Caban could have so much fun with Legion. Like, you don't have to give him thousands of powers, hundreds of powers. I think you can just give him 10 to 20 different powers and either have it random, because in the comics he has issues with identity because he has so many identities inside of him and they all make him. But as he's grown up, he's kind of been able to commune with his other identities and keep his own identity. So it's come to him that he can choose which power he brings out. And so I think having someone, like you said, with Mystique, who can choose to bring out which character she copies, he can choose to bring out what power he does and how he does it. And so I think obviously you're going to limit him, because I definitely think he's the most powerful mutant of all time. I don't think, I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but I definitely think he's the most powerful mutant of all time, and I love him. And having him being able to choose what he wants, and they could go the random route as well. I don't think it'd be that cool if they went the random route, but they could go with random powers, and that's fine. But it being able to choose what you do, how you do your fight, and being the most psych, like one of like what Phoenix should be, like that much psychic and psionic energy. Like, it's just, they could do so many cool stuff with him. But I just thought it's funny. Like, you put Hobgoblin on the gym grid, but not Legion, and you put Shadow King. I'm like, oh man, I was looking through the list, looking for Legion, but it's all good.
Well, and I almost have to wonder. I don't want to say that they're gun shy, right? But we look at characters like Phoenix, or let's look at a more recent example. Let's look at Nova, right?
Yeah.
Nova's the character that everybody wanted. They had this idea of what his power set may be, and how good he may be in the game, and then he was very much a letdown. So if you bring Legion into the game and you limit what he can do, is that going to make the true comic fans happy? He's still a banger of a champ. I think you're going to make a lot of people happy, but I think there's going to be a lot of people, it's kind of like Franklin Richards.
Yeah, well, I don't know, like Scarlet Witch. You look at her, like she's one of the only chaos magic users in the comics. She can reality warp on the same, like almost as big as Legion on a universal scale, and everyone loves her in the game. And I don't know about, we don't have the newer one playable, but she's fine in the game. And obviously with Nova being disappointed, but Legion doesn't have like a legion of fans. He has been teased in the Days of Future Past, with when Bishop came to the game, but so did Mimic and Armor. And those characters didn't come to the game. So, I definitely think they can do it, and I would be okay. I just, I don't think he should be the best character in the game. I mean, I would love for him to be, because, that'd be amazing. So, but they can definitely do some stuff, and obviously, I don't want him to be a bit disappointment as Nova, and I'm sure Nova will get just a tiny tune-up. I think he'll be fine, but, I was just...
Yeah, I think, too. I think you give Nova a value tune-up, and he's fine. His kit's good. His rotation's a little crazy, but... give him a damage rotation, and give him a value tune-up, and I think he'd be a lot better than he is. I don't think you need to overhaul his abilities. Maybe play around with his Nova charges and how those work. But yeah, I think he's a solid champ as he is. He's just lacking. If you're thinking about cosmic champs to bring into the game, he's not the one that you jump on. You go, yes, I'm gonna take Nova. No one says that. Yeah. So no, it's interesting to see, and that's one of the things when I'm trying to come up with a champion kit or something like that. I try to do a lot of research into what their abilities are, how that could be translated to the game. I'm limited by the fact that I don't have access to future content that Pam is trying to plan characters around. I'm limited to the technology that they have. So it really does become this kind of like wish list of things. I think one of my favorites that I did, besides Groot, I think to this day still stands as my favorite champion buff. But
Cool.
I ended up doing a dual kit with El Gabarino, and so we both did a version of Baldwin. He did Speedball, and I did Penance. And I designed Penance as a science champion who his entire kit was to go against Mystics, and his abilities were based off of Mystics taking away his buffs that made him stronger. Because in the comics, Penance gets stronger as he gets hurt, and that's kind of the idea of his armor. His armor has all these different
spikes that impale him.
Spikes inside that hit him and puncture him, which creates more and more energy for him. And I really enjoyed doing that build. One, because I think that it was the most pure science champion that I've done, but also to see what Gabe did with Speedball, which was such a wild and out there build that, he wasn't just designing champion abilities, he was designing new play styles. He was really looking at it going, okay, Kabam's going to have to create new technology in order to put Speedball into the game based off his power set. And I love the fact that he was able to look beyond the current technology of the game and really kind of go crazy with it.
Yeah, my brother loves Penance. Like, he loves Civil War the comic, and Penance, if you guys don't know, I know him from Civil War, where Stanford was blown up by Nitro, and for everyone who died, the 612 civilians, he has in his suit, he has 612 spikes that impale him. So if Civil War does become a reoccurring theme in the contest, dude, it'd be a crime not to put Penance, who was in the comic books for Contest Champions, for anyone who doesn't know. But yeah, I think it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, and it's such a... you take this goofy, happy-go-lucky, characters bouncing around on these, connect balls of energy, just, bouncing everywhere, and you turn him into this sadomasochistic character that's just like this complete 180 of a character psyche, and it was such a good character development. I really liked it. Plus, I liked the ability of he felt tortured. He felt responsible for everything that happened in Civil War, and so he took that as his penance. Obviously, that's where his name comes from. So I see Xander's got a question in here. Who would be my number one most favorite champion to come to the game if I could choose? Wow. This goes back and forth. But if Kabam came to be today and they said, hey, Jim, we picked your name at random and we're going to let you pick the champion that comes next month. You hear me talk about Shadow King, you hear me talk about Guardian. The character I would most love to see in the game, and sorry everybody, it's another mutant. I grew up in the mutant community. It would be Onslaught. 100%.
Very nice, man.
I would love to see Onslaught come to the game. Now that you've got Professor X in the game, and granted, it's not the same Professor X that we saw as part of the original Onslaught. You've got Magneto as a banger in the game now. To see somebody like Onslaught in the game, I think would be amazing if they did him right. Yeah, Xander. So I remember I was reading comics at this time, and the very initial comic where they introduced Onslaught was there were some champions that were in New York City, and all of a sudden come flying out of the sky is Juggernaut. He comes landing in New York City, and he gets up and he's confused, and he's like, "What's going on? Where am I?" And they're like, "You're in New York," and he's like, "What do you mean I'm New York? I was just in Canada." Onslaught had knocked him from Canada to New York like he was nothing. So yeah, I think Onslaught, who is a psychic manifestation of both Professor X and Magneto's psyches, I think he would be amazing in the game. I think he could do really well. I'd love to see what they do, with the common ones like your Sandman and stuff like that. I would say next, besides Onslaught, would be Adam Warlock. I'd love to see what they would do with Adam Warlock in the game.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man, yeah, Onslaught, dude, freaking cool. There's a picture of Onslaught. He just looks so cool.
Yeah.
You talk about one of the most powerful mutant manifestations is definitely going to be Onslaught. I mean, his power is just absolutely insane, and he's from the '90s, which we just got a '90s event. So if they continue this '90s event, dude, Onslaught's definitely going to be amazing.
Yeah, and I saw that Deacon had to drop. He probably could have talked to this. Maybe Marcus can, or Turkey. I think at one point they had an Onslaught rebirth or another version of Onslaught, and it ended up being Red Skull.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, but I'm talking about the OG Onslaught that he was destroying everything. And another awesome character I think that'd be fun that most people may or may not know would be Spot. I think Spot would be so cool. He's actually scheduled to be in the next Spider-Man animated movie. So, not Spawn, Spot.
Yeah, I don't know too much about him. I was rewatching the Spider-Man animated series from the '90s, and he had an episode, but that was pretty awesome. I forgot. I know, like he just creates spots that basically type into a dimension, and these can travel anywhere. He can have stuff travel through him. It's pretty cool. Like he's a cool guy, and yeah, he'd be pretty awesome to the game.
Yeah, there's a very famous picture of Spider-Man hitting him in the chest, and Spider-Man's own fist coming out of his face and hitting Spider-Man in the face. So like he went to hit Spot in the chest, he created this portal in his chest and opened it up in his face, and so Spider-Man's own fist punched him in his own face. So.
Well, you hit yourself.
yeah, and it just kind of shows this kind of a unique play style that we could see there. I could see someone like Shadowcat utilizing the root mechanic that we've seen, because she does have that ability to phase people into the ground or into the wall. So yeah, there it is. Thank you, Mr. King. But I could see Shadowcat really utilizing the root mechanic as part of her base kit, which I think would be cool. So,
yeah, me and Marcus made a fan build for Spider-Man Noir, and we gave him a root mechanic where he can web the opponent, and that would root them for only like 3 seconds or so. But I thought it was something that we could. I think if them haven't incorporated, like, I don't know what they have planned yet, because we have yet to see a character with the root mechanic or it return.
Yeah. Yeah, if they ever decided to buff OG Spider-Man, the idea of the webs is a really good idea for the root mechanic, I think. So.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Me and Marcus are gonna have to come up with the Spider-Man buff as well as the Spider-Man 29 build. I'm excited for that.
Oh, Gibbon. Yeah, there's some interesting ones. I see Gibbon in here. I always thought Gideon was an interesting one. My favorite one from the original tournament was Griffin, who I thought would have been a real cool excuse me, addition to the game. So
I don't know those two characters. I'm a crazy super fan for contests, and I read a lot of X-Men comics, but a lot of comics I didn't read, so it's always nice to look up characters.
yeah, so Griffin is this like lion eagle
Right, yeah.
combination character, but Gideon. What most people don't understand is there was a New Mutants comic that introduced some obscure character. His name is like Deadpool or something like that.
Oh,
And some other I think her name was Domino or something like that. But the highlight of that episode or that issue was they introduced a character named Gideon, and he was amazing.
Oh, Gideon. Okay, I thought you said Gibbon.
No, Gibbon's one that Brendan said up there, but
Okay, I know what Gideon is. Okay,
yeah, Gideon and Griffin are two that I think would be unique adds to the game. And I know a lot of people go, "Well, why would we get a Griffin to the game?" I was like, "Dude, we got Dragon Man and we're getting Mandog. We could get a Griffin, okay, or maybe we'll get a Gargoyle one day." So,
ooh, yeah. Yeah, we got Grey Gargle. Oh my goodness! Turn people to stone.
Yeah.
Basically, what Medusa should be. Turn people to stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I was thinking. My brother was talking to me today. He's been rewatching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Lash, who's an Inhuman. He was talking about like, dude, Lash would be so cool, and he could have like specific abilities against Inhumans. I thought that'd be such a cool idea.
And if they went with the comic look of Lash, that's such a cool look. Although it's very similar to
Blackheart.
Yeah, Blackheart. That's what I was trying to think of. Blackheart. Yeah. I could see them. They definitely have to kind of maybe make his color scheme a lot lighter or whatever if they were ever going to bring Blackheart into the game. But and I mean Lash, make his color scheme a little bit lighter, like a lighter gray. But yeah, those tendrils or dreadlocks or whatever we want to call coming off the head. Yeah, it's a very similar design philosophy between the two. But I have a lot of faith. I don't think any of us have ever looked at the art department of Marvel Champions and said, "Man, they need help there," because their art's always on point. So.
Oh yeah, especially with with Psycho Man, not in his animations, just his actual look. That's probably the best. Frazera was telling about his love for Kirby, how this is probably the best rendition of Kirby's character. I'm like, dude, yeah, I have to agree. I mean, dude, even the contest originals, Aegon, Guillotine 2099, man, like, dude, they look so amazing, and it's definitely inspired a lot of my art style when it comes to my schoolwork and doing certain stuff. It's been really awesome. Simbi Supreme, dude, like all of them are so good. It's amazing, the art department. I
remember when Nova came out and his special animations were just, I mean, it was mind blowing what we were seeing. We saw Dr. Doom and we saw, all these different characters. Human Torch, we thought that they were going to do a lot. His animations aren't like super, super flashy when you compare him to like a Dr. Doom or Nova or, some of these other characters. And, I do love seeing some of the subtle nods. I think somebody called Strife's, one of his special attacks, it looked like a Hadouken from Street Fighter.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, the art has never been an issue. I think it's been player transparency, player communication. They did really well with the roadmaps, and they released one I think back in November, and I think it's time for an update to that of where they are with some of the different nodes and modes and updates to arena and to quests and to strikers and to raids and to alliance events. I'm very, very positive that Kavam is in contact with a lot of the CCP folks and running ideas by them. I don't know if anybody saw this on Twitter, but Cam MCOC reached out and was like, "Hey, if you could come up or improve an alliance event, what would your suggestions be?
Oh.
And he took an entire thread and he's like, great, I've collected all this and turned it in. So, I don't know if that was unsolicited feedback that he gave to Kabam, or if that was solicited feedback that he just went out and gathered information from the community on what they would like to see either changed or updated. And obviously the big thing was rewards, but he was asking specifically for modes or changes to Alliance War and Alliance Quest. And, I threw my Alliance campaigns in there to make sure that he saw that.
All right, all good, man.
I see Xander's question around Green Goblin.
See, here's the thing about Green Goblin. I don't think he's a bad champion.
No.
I think he is heavily outweighed by many, many other champions that do things better. He's got some decent power control. He's got some decent incinerate. That SP2 is one of the most difficult ones to evade in the game. But I could see a damage boost to him. I'd like to see maybe a little bit more control over his pumpkin bombs, which ones you're going to throw. Definitely damage increase. He's still kind of a wet noodle. I'd like to see a way to maybe ramp his damage up. I don't necessarily think it's a persistent charge type of ramp that he needs, but I can't really think of any of his abilities that need changing. It's more increasing. Yeah, maybe a blue flight first pumpkin bombs. Like if you're going to go in, is it going to be a poison bomb? Is it going to be a concussion bomb, or something like that? We look at it like, maybe stealthy. So stealthy can pick what kind of web cartridges he's doing. Maybe Green Goblin can do what kind of pumpkin bombs he's going to bring in. He needs a damage increase and maybe a damage ramp. And I would like to see his. I think if you take Green Goblin's power drain mechanics and you make it similar to Guillotine 2099's SP1, where she takes X percentage if it lands, but she takes more if you block it. I think if you add something like that, it makes him a better power control champ. But yeah, he absolutely needs a damage boost and or a damage ramp.
Yeah, I definitely think he can get buffed, and I don't think he needs that much of a buff. I think just the more he descends to madness, the more powerful more damage he does. Since we're on the topic of Green Goblin, we had CT on here a couple weeks ago, and he said that Hobgoblin was teased by Kabam to come to the game. So I just wanted to put that out there, that maybe these abilities that you're talking about for a buff could be incorporated into a Hobgoblin build eventually.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like to see. And Jay, I know you have a list of like 100 champs that have been teased through EQs and stuff like that, or maybe more than that. But
yep, it's more.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different champs that they have teased, whether it's been background images of Iron Spider, or Mimic up on the Days of Future Past thing, or so many different characters that they teased in images, or that they've name dropped inside of EQs or variants, or not variants, but EQs or story quests and things like that they've talked about. It's just this game, as long as if they can continue to cater and be transparent with their player base, this game does not have an end in sight. But if they frustrate and bore and burn out their player base, that's what'll kill the game. From a story perspective, they'll never run out of it.
I mean, they've laid so many different Easter eggs. Their connections with the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well as the comics, they can continue going as long as they keep their customers happy. And there's a delicate balance to that. I understand that they have to make money, they have to keep things going. But I can tell you this: I spend more when they do things like, I don't know, the roadmaps, and they tell you about everything that's coming. It's like, okay, there's a lot of stuff coming. I'm happy. They're being transparent. They're being good to Bam. I like that. I don't mind dropping a little bit of money to get some crystals. I've got that disposable income. Sure, I'm fine with that. But when you go, months and months, and then you're frustrated and you're kind of burnt out, you're like, I'm not gonna. I haven't really heard anything from Kabam lately. I'm not gonna spend money on the game right now. So I think they make more money the happier that they make their player base. I'm not saying that they have to take away, but I think the more that they can be transparent and communicate what's going on. I think if they came out and said, hey, here's why we did this with Hood, or here's why we're planning this. I think there's something to be said about customer service and how long or how far that can go. I'll give a prime example. If you're an Amazon customer and you have an issue with an order, they'll replace it, refund. I mean, they never challenge you. It's just like, hey, how can we make it right? We want to do what's right for you. And it seems this like, okay, you're probably throwing away a lot of money by just duplicating this product that you're sending to me that maybe got lost in the mail or was messed up, and you're telling me I don't have to send it back. But because of that customer service, now I'm going to come back to you more and more, and I'm going to spend more money with you. And
they are the richest company, though.
Well, they one of them, but they didn't get to be the richest company. They didn't start out that way. Their customer service and the way that they've dealt with their consumers has been phenomenal, and that's what led them to be one of the most profitable companies and biggest companies out there. So, if you keep your consumers happy customers spend money. Consumers that are not happy don't spend as much money. Just how it is. So, I think they've done a lot better. They can still improve, but I think they've done a lot better in being transparent with the community. I wish they would give an update and then tell us when the next update's going to come, so that we don't sit there twiddling our thumbs wondering when the next update's going to come.
Yeah, I see this is a lot of other games. I used to be a big console player, and you'll see player bases just absolutely not like the game because the developers won't tell them anything. It's really annoying. And now I've seen with like Call of Duty, Destiny, like these big AAA games, they're always pretty much transparent nowadays compared to 10 years ago, 3 to 5 years ago. Their transparency has totally kicked up, which is awesome to see. And Kabam do lack that, and it's definitely something that I would love to see, and even like go back and kind of explain stuff back in the day why it was like this and why it's still like this. We brought some stuff, a couple in the past episodes of stuff that kind of needs to be changed, like the 4-star Cavalier Challenge, stuff like that. And so I would love to see more transparency for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it's a growth mindset that a company needs to have to understand what worked a year ago, what worked 6 months ago may not work now. And if you remain stagnant, that's where another company is able to come in and kind of take your place. It's the Netflix blockbuster debacle, right? So you have to have that growth mindset, and that growth mindset has to include your customer base, the people that really don't care about I know, right? The companies that don't really care about their customer base are not in it for the long haul. They're in it for the short term. The companies that care about their customer base are in it for the long term, because they realize that investment in their player base comes back to them tenfold.
Oh yeah, man. All right, I got a couple quick questions since we're about an hour and 15 minutes. Um, what do you?
Oh,
So
we're an hour and a half.
what's up?
We're an hour and a half in. I'm loving this.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we're gonna switch up some things. Let's talk about the Future Society, man. What can you tell me about that we're both in? Actually, almost everyone in here is in the Future Society.
Yeah, so this actually started. I got looped into a Twitter conversation with Marcus and a few others. Like, hey, let's kind of put something together where we have a group of us come together and do stuff for the community. And I'm like, sure, I'm down for it. And and so then it kind of like, well, who else should we get? It's like, hey, let's talk to Gabe. And then it was like, well, hey, let's talk to Deacon, and let's talk to Dragon, and let's talk to some of the the other folks out there. And we just started just reaching out to different people, and we got this great response of like, yeah, we love the community. Let's all jump on board. And it really was all based from a genesis of Marcus. Marcus was the one that kind of came up with the idea of bringing a couple of folks in the community together to do stuff for the community. And so this continued to grow and to build, and then with Gabe involved, it was like, well, hey, we can do another tournament, but underneath the guise of the Futurism Society instead of just Gabe and Deacon. We can do a podcast, which is something that we're working on. We can do champion designs. We can do giveaways. We can do contests. We can do really the sky's the limit. It's really what comes up to the folks in the group, what do they want to do? And as long as it's really kind of focused on the future of the game, whether it's a buff or a champion idea or a tournament or contest or you name it, that was the idea of the Futurism Society of we know where the game is right now. Where could the game go from a nerdy geek standpoint of we love the comics, and we love this game not only because of the gameplay, but because of the lore that's behind it, and because of Marvel Comics and the MCU. And so
I'm super grateful to be a part of it, man. I was so happy when I found out about it, and I'm so excited for everything that's happening right now and everything that's gonna happen with society, man. I cannot wait.
I gotta tell you, one of the funnest things was coming up with the logos back and forth between myself and Turkey, and trying to figure out what the logo was going to look at. We came up with the idea for the logo, and then it was like we just kept teasing people online with the Twitter handle, and so many people were like, what is this society, what is this? And then we started creating I was like, guys, I can create a trailer for the group for the tournament. I'll go ahead and do that and put it to music, and created this whole like epic trailer of what we were going to do. But it wasn't that epic, but it was fun. It was it was kind of good. Nobody knew what we were doing, and by the time that we actually launched for the the tournament to say, hey, we're coming with the tournament, I think we had 500 followers at that point, and we hadn't done anything. We've literally been teasing people. Nobody knew who was in it. There were a few people that figured out based on, because we were like, okay, if you're going to say something on the MCOC Society Twitter, you need to put, kind of like Marvel Champions or Marvel Contest Champions does, put a little tag of, like other Gabriano was always OG and I was always JC and things like that. And, people started to figure it out. I think Metal Sonic Dude was one of the first people, and he responded to something back and forth. He's like, is that right, JC? And I was like, all right, he got me. But yeah, it was funny. It's like we hadn't done anything, and all of a sudden we've got, people like See It and Legacy and, some of these different folks that are, following us, and we hadn't done anything. It was literally, we were asking fun questions. We were teasing things. Hey, we've got things coming. We're coming. We never told anybody who we were, what our plans were,
and all of a sudden we had, over 500 people. We're in the Discord, we're in the Twitter direct messages, like, what the hell? We've got all these followers. We haven't done, excuse me, shit. So it was pretty fun. So it's been fun, and it's weird now to get on these different streams and hear the society mentioned. What I did love was how many people would get onto some of these YouTuber streams and be like, hey, do you know anything about the society? Are you in the society? And people guessing all the time, like, hey, Brian Grant, you've got to be part of the society, all this sort of stuff. And it was fun to kind of hear this, because it was a big kind of mystery in the Twitterverse, and so it was pretty interesting. So, and I think a lot of that is what kind of probably led to like Seaton and Legacy following us, was people were getting on their streams and asking like, hey, are you part of this society? And and they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, when you guys were revealing everyone one by one, man, dude, my brain was like, dude, okay, look at the clues. Who is it? Who's joining? So it was definitely fun, and it's super awesome.
Yeah, that was something I actually did all of the reveals. I did the designs for those, and so I would get in there and I'm like, okay, what's the idea we're gonna do for Deacon? And Deacon was like, Cable, and I'm like, dude, they're gonna know who Cable is. Come on, man. And so I think we did like podcast or something like that, or and
Yeah.
but it was fun with like 1 to 2 term hints to see if people could figure out who they were. And poor Brian Grant, I think he got tagged on every single hint. But hey, it was all fun. So, but yeah, it's grown. We've expanded. The Friends of the Society, and just so many different people that are creating and collaborating, and in our Discord, and we also have the public Discord, and it's fun to see that it really is a community of people that want to come together. They want to talk and chat. They want to nerd out, and it's all derived from this fun little game we play on our phones or our tablets, and I think that's really cool. And it's fun too to watch the people inside of the society that are growing their own individual brands. I mean, Marcus, he was relatively new to streaming and doing content creation, and he knocked it out of the park with this random Cable Abyss runs. Like, you're taking Cable into the Abyss, and he got his initial completion on it, and wouldn't you know it, he shows up in the Contest of Champions 6-year anniversary video in his full Cable makeup for his Abyss run. It was pretty awesome. So
Yeah, I was there that stream, man. That was super legendary.
yeah. It was he's taking down the Abyss with Cable. He's taking down Maestro with pre-buff Angela. I mean, is there anything that he can't do with the quote unquote underrated champions? So, anyways, my gym power. No, I think it's great. What I've loved about it is really just the interactions. Yeah, the stuff with the society's fun, and doing the tournament, and we're doing champion designs on the back end, but we're doing something different that no one's really done so far. We're actually doing an entire team, but we're not talking about the team or giving hints about the team or anything like that. But multiple people are creating their own versions, and it's an entire team from the comics that we'd love to see introduced into the game. And so that in and of itself, I mean, I love doing these champion buff ideas. So I love that. And I'm kind of trying to round people up from doing that. And what I love about it is there's so many different people that are doing so many different things within the community, the society, that we literally have not run out of ideas. There's talk of a YouTube channel, where we either create or review buff ideas from the community, which is something that we don't see anybody doing. The closest we did was when I worked with Rich the Man to help him create an Iron Fist. It was all his. Not Iron Man, Iron Fist. He came to me with an idea for Iron Fist. I created a graphic for it, and he kind of went on and said, "Hey, here's how I would like to see Iron Fist updated." But beyond that, we don't really see community-created champion buff idea reviews done on YouTube.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I posted my Captain America World War II buff, which you also posted one the same day.
Yeah. Well, it was you. It was I'm not sure if I pronounce it right. Kalantak.
Yep.
He created one. You created one. And I'm like, okay, I'm the Captain America dude.
Yep.
I got to do one too, and that's what was interesting. I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. I think I started at 5, and by 6:45, I was done with the concept and created the graphic, and it was ready to go. And that was the quickest I'd ever done one. I'd been thinking about ideas for it, but I knew I wanted to do some sort of ramp for him, adding in like a something that was military based. So I added fortitude for him, which really either negated having his buffs manipulated by mystics, and if they were manipulated, then he gained passive regeneration.
Speaking of that, that's interesting, because that's what Civil Warrior has, is that he can't get nullified because of his super soldier serum. So that's super. I was going to point it out to you today, but I never got around to it.
No, that's okay. I've noticed a few things, and I've noticed from conversations with Kabam John on Twitter that they're very aware when people post these, and they tag them. They may not respond, but they're aware of them. I've talked to a lot of the CCP folks. They're very aware of these champion buff ideas that come out. They've seen my Kabam John buff. They've seen I think was it Moose's. I think it was either Moose or Chunky B. I think it was Chunky B did a Kabam Miike, Kabam Magic Miike build, and so I put that into a buff idea, and apparently they've had a lot of good laughs about both of those. But they see these buff ideas, and they've okay. So it wasn't you, so it was Chunky. So they see them, and John has even said, hey, if we ever steal anything, we'll let you know. And if y'all have followed me on Twitter, several months before Apocalypse came out, I had released my Groot buff. And so Groot had the ability, if you were one of the, other members on the team and you were about to die, he would sacrifice himself and give you 20% passive regeneration. And he would lose that energy. It wasn't that, he just gave it to you. It's not like a Heimdall thing where he wasn't affected. He actually lost that health. But for every fight that he wasn't in, he regained a certain percentage of health, but he could never go over what he lost. So if he was, 40%, he could never get above 40% after reviving people. Fast forward to Apocalypse, and he has a very similar, not the protection for the opponents, but the sitting out the fights and regenerating in the background signature ability. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna conspiracy theory that they stole that, but the timing is very coincidental.
Yeah.
So, but if it had been, kind of like the Civil Warrior buff, where I said something on a Thursday and then Friday they released it, was like, oh, okay, well, no.
Yeah.
No way they got that. But the group buff, I think, was released in March, and Apocalypse was released back in
September?
September.
August,
Yeah,
September, around there.
And I know that John commented on it and said he really liked it and said that group buff looked like he would be very, very fun to play. Had some very fun mechanics in it. He had stances. He had the ability to disorient the opponent just by idling. So he would light up. Yeah, he would light up the arena, kind of like those spores that you see when he lights up everything. And so the idea was that, if he idles for 1 second or whatever, he lights up the arena with these spores and it disorients the character until after the next hit. So it would, keep them from being able to evade or something like that. So you only got 1 hit on it. But, it was fun trying to find. Thanks, Moose. That was, to me, it was always like, okay, how can I try to find something different that hasn't been done yet? Different that hasn't.
Yeah, that was cool. And I was playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and once again, Groot uses that ability to light up because they used the Space Stone to teleport to the raft, and so they couldn't see anything behind them because they were locked in a cell, and so he just uses his spores to light it up. So I would love to see that ability. Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, here I'll even. I screenshotted this one. So this was the comparison between the Apocalypse signature ability and then the Groot signature ability, and how it was that same idea of when he's not fighting, he's regenerating in the background, which is something we hadn't seen in the game before Apocalypse came into the game. So.
Yeah, which will probably, I don't know, I don't think Odin's abilities have released either, but I'm sure his Odin sleep will be a big part.
You would think that, they did mention that there was something in his abilities that mentioned the Odin sleep, even though his full abilities haven't been broken down, just kind of his description of it. And I do love the fact that they released a picture of his ravens.
Yeah.
That was really cool today. That was the teaser that Marvel Champions released was his ravens. So
it's quite funny too because I actually just wrote like a breakdown of the symbols in the Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and I brought up the ravens of Odin, and the same day they just post 2 pictures of his ravens, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I'm gonna see if it is the release notes that mentions his Odin sleep. Odin's the king of Asgard and the Allfather to numerous formidable Asgardian gods. However, Odin is the most powerful of the Asgardians, possessing a vast cosmic energy source called the Odin Force. His power is so great that Odin must enter a coma-like state called the Odin sleep to recover from its overwhelming strength. So, in the release notes, it specifically says that his power is so great that he has to enter into the Odin sleep. So, if they're not going to make that part of his abilities, I don't see why they would put that into, that quick little breakdown. So,
yeah, Mr. King is saying that his feathers are the side event, which is cool as well. And in Nordic mythology, the I think it's Memory and Mind are the 2 are the names of the Raven. Anyways, they give him information on Midgard, so I wonder if he'll get any information from his ravens against the opponent. Like he might figure he'll get this information from the opponent. I thought that'd be pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that they can do, and I do want to. Now that we're talking on Groove, I do have to put in the Groot buff that we all deserve. Let me go ahead and put that one into the chat.
This is the Groot buff that we all deserve. Although I do feel that the Groot buff that I just posted might be a little too OP.
I think my brother said that to me one day. I was showing him it.
Yeah, for anyone that can't see it in the chat, literally it just says "I am Groot" over and over and over again in different spelling or different capitalization and punctuations and things like that. So, there was I actually got that idea. I can't come up with that. I can't say that that was my idea. There was I think there was a meme that was going around. It was like you have to write a resume as a superhero, and
Oh,
one kid turned theirs in as I am Groot, and so it was Groot, and then everything else in the resume was I am Groot, I am Groot, I am Groot, I am Groot, and apparently the kid got 100, which makes sense. So, but yeah, so I was like, okay, I got to put this into a champion ability because that's just too perfect. So, man, I got to tell you, I think this is your longest podcast.
yeah, definitely is. I
I
think you
can
bring
talk forever.
Clobber I think we just
Yeah.
read CT's podcast time, and I think it's even longer too. I had actually had an issue at the beginning of the stream where it wasn't streaming to two platforms; it was only streaming to Twitch, so I had to actually stop the stream. So we lost like a minute, but it's fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and CT is so knowledgeable. I mean, just he's just a great person to listen to. He's got such great advice when you talk to him. He's knowledgeable. He's one of the things I like about him is he's approachable. But he's just I like his ideas on what he wants to do. As he's not in the CCP, but the content that he wants to create, he wants to look at something and deliver something that no one else is doing. And I think he's his own worst critic, but he's I do like that he's looking for new avenues, and I think that's admirable.
Yeah, he's got some really cool stuff in the works right now. Puck asked earlier. I forgot to ask, but he wanted to ask, what are the requirements for joining the society?
So I think it's if people want to join the society, we'll look at friends of the society. We'll look at I think a lot of it is kind of how active you are on Twitter. Are you kind of being creative? Are you positive? Obviously, we're not going to get into it here, but we did run into an issue where we did have to part ways with somebody inside of the society, and so we do want to look at behavior as well too, because Gabe had conversations with Kabam about the society and what we wanted to do, and so one person becomes a representation of the entire team. It can so we discuss before we bring anybody in, hey, they're interested, what do y'all think about this, what is there any concerns or anything like that. So and Puck, if you're on Discord, you actually have to go into the interview room to listen.
Yeah, you just joined the
That's how
voice
you-
chat, and you're just muted, so you just listen along. Yeah, he's been on my YouTube chat like the whole entire time.
Oh, so I can't say anything that he's saying about me. Great.
I think he's heard everything. Like, I think you name dropped his name, and then he commented like for the like 10 minutes into the stream. I was like, perfect timing, dude. What are you talking about the alliance?
Yeah. Well, I'd seen him in here in the interview chat. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, I made his profile pic. I don't know if anyone knows that, but his profile pic, I actually created it like months ago. I just started making content for contests, and he was like, "Yo, you're the dude I was told to make. If you can make me a profile pic," and I was like, "Dude, of course, man. I did it." And he was like, "Dude, great job, man." So if you guys are any curious about his Professor Puck profile pic, there you go.
Yeah, I guilt tripped him into coming onto Twitter because I was like, dude, man, you're missing so much on Twitter, and I finally guilt tripped him into getting onto Twitter, and he just took off, and I think anybody that's interacted with him on Twitter or anywhere else understands he's such a positive dude. He's great having the alliance. He actually used to be Puck85 in game was his username. And he kind of became my de facto recruiter for my alliance. So
Nice.
anytime I had an opening, he's like, hey, you want to go find somebody? I'm like, yeah, sure, go find somebody. And then, it got to, I was like, hey, Professor Puck, you're up. And I had this picture of like Professor X, Cerebro, but it said Professor Puck above it, you're up, and go find me somebody else. And he'd go out and look for somebody, and one day he just changed his name to Professor Puck in the game. And I'm like, okay, you've taken on the mantra of Professor Puck, and it was pretty cool. And so we whether it's on Twitter or it's in my alliance or anywhere, it's just this kind of level of positivity and like camaraderie and like, hey, you know what, we didn't win this war, it's okay, we're gonna come back, we're gonna we're gonna kick ass next time, love this team, and all this sort of stuff. And so just hearing the positivity, I've got so many folks on the team that have been in the alliance for so long. I've had this same alliance 2016, since March of 2016. Wow. My brother started it, I inherited it, and we've got some folks that have been there for pretty much the entire time, because we're right in that silver 1, gold 3 kind of range. We're not trying to get up into the super competitive. We get into gold 2, hey, great. Gold 1, awesome. But it's we're not trying to buy wins. I'm trying to show people out. So yeah,
I'm right with you in the alliance area, so I understand completely.
Yeah, it's trying to balance that. Hey, we love the game, we love to play it, but it shouldn't become a second job.
Oh yeah,
because I'm not paying you. But at the same time, hey, you knew what the requirements are. Meet the requirements. Just hey, if you need to take some time off, let us know. That's it. So I love my alliance. I love the people in there, the camaraderie. We do have some burnout that's going on, but that's not due to the alliance. That's just due to the game. I mean, it happens. It ebbs and flows. So. Puck, I'm not paying you. Sorry. I'll create a Puck build for you, but that's it. I'm not paying you. I'll buy you a beer if you ever make it to Texas. Well, Jay, I got to say, being that you were kind of handed this podcast at the last minute to do by yourself, man, you've been awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. I love talking to everyone and getting to know what you guys think and what your thoughts, everything. So, yeah, man, it's been pretty cool. If anyone has like any final questions, I think we can end it here. If you guys want to say any last words, we talked about. Where's my notebook? Hold on. That's what it was. The final question I have for you, for myself, is we already answered who would you add to the contest. So what is the number 1 buff you want to see in the contest?
Groot.
Okay, I knew the answer. I just wanted to make sure.
But so when I was on Brendan's stream and I was talking with Marcus, I asked him that very same question. I said, hey, who do you want to buff in game? And it can't be Groot because that's the obvious one. We all want a Groot but a Groot buff. So if I had to look at the characters in the game that I would like to see get an overhaul, not a moderate update, not a value update. My dogs are starting to wrestle, so I hope they don't go crazy. If I wanted to look at one character in the game that I wanted to see get an entirely new kit and an overhaul, Marcus, get ready to start jumping up and down. But it's Miles Morales. He absolutely needs a complete overhaul and rework of his kit. I would love to see, as you probably tell, I kind of like ramp ups and being able to build up a character, but he needs a kind of a learning the ropes type of mechanic that as he continues through fights and through quests, he gets more confident, his abilities, his accuracy improves. He needs to have invisibility, he needs to have shock. So I would love to see an entire rework of his abilities that play into his naivety as being a new Spider-Man, and that he's having to learn the ropes, and as he
progresses and he gets more confident in his powers, he gets stronger, his ability accuracy goes up, things of that nature.
Yeah, man, that's a great buff, and if anyone does not know, he actually is getting some. We at least know he's getting a visual, at least overhaul. It seems like that's all the information we know about a buff for him is that his visuals are being changed, which is something we have not seen in since Colossus, I want to say.
Yeah. So, well, Daredevil Netflix had entirely set as well too. So Kabam Miike back on, and I actually just tweeted this out yesterday, so I know the date. It was actually on the 2nd of February. He had mentioned that they're actually working on a full rework of Miles Morales, including an entire new move set for him. And then he also mentioned that there was work being done on both of the Black Panthers, but they were starting with OG Black Panther first. But both of them are in the pipeline. So whether or not that's our April buff, April rework that's coming, overhaul, yeah, we'll have to find out. But yeah, I've got. Oh damn, you got him as a rank 3. Okay, yes. I was gonna say I've got Miles as a 6-star. Yeah, there's the most recent one. I've got Miles as a 6-star. I've got Joe Fixit as a 6-star. I love Cam's rework of him. I'd like to see that in game too. But
oh man, I've yet to check it out. Can't wait.
Yeah, he actually did, and this is really cool. I really like Cam. This is something different. He actually did a live stream where he was playing the game, and then the idea was on the live stream they came up with a champion buff for Joe Fixit, and it was specifically to counter one of the high-end tier war modifiers that they have out there. But yeah, he's actually got a PDF. So if you go to Cam MCOC on Twitter,
yeah, I have it bookmarked.
Yeah,
I've been busy this weekend, so this entire week, so it's just on the back burner. Yeah, I did a buff for Loki on stream, but it was just not even close to how in depth the Joe Fixit buff is.
Yeah.
Oh, and Equalizer, you're saying don't rework all champs, dude. For honestly, I think there's probably less than 20 champs that need reworks.
Yeah. The rest of them are just increases in buffs, or increases to numbers or values and stuff like that. Here's the thing that I am happy about. Most of the reworks that we have seen have been more offensively based. There haven't been a huge number of defensive focused updates, which from us, when we think about going through content, the more defensive the character's abilities are, the harder they are to fight, which then makes the game more challenging. I do like the fact that they are opening up our rosters from an attack standpoint and giving us more options to fight long-term content and not being devastated by, I got this champion which does nothing for me.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree.
Yeah. Sorry, that's my dog sneezing.
Oh no. They're wrestling right now, and if you don't know this about dogs, so when dogs play fight, one of the ways that they let each of them know that they're not serious and they're play fighting is they will sneeze. So if you watch dogs wrestle a lot, they do a lot of that like sneezing and stuff, and it's kind of like a cue from one dog to the other that like, hey, I'm not serious, we're just playing.
Yeah, I have 4 dogs. And the second oldest dog I have plays with the newer one, the 9-month-old puppy, and they'll do that sneezing. So yeah, they love each other.
Yep.
Well, Jay, I got to tell you, obviously we missed XN. Hope everything works out good for him, but this has been great. Anytime, I'm more than happy to come on. I have no problem talking, obviously, but. This has been great. It's been great to talk with you all and talk about the game, talk about the community, talk about the society, and appreciate everybody that jumped on. This has been fun.
Yeah, man. Well, we're definitely going to have you back on for hopefully a society interview have a lot of members of the society come in for an entire interview. That's something we'll have to set up with the Slayer. I think said he's going to help set up. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming by, man. It's freaking been awesome. Thanks for coming by, dude. Talking about all your cool buffs, all the cool knowledge of the game. I mean, it's been truly awesome. But yeah, man, that's where we're gonna end it tonight, everyone.
Hey, this is awesome. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone on the YouTube and Twitch and everyone listening right now. Good night, everyone. Hope you guys have an awesome night, and I'll see you.